to start with John Daniels. You want to just take questions?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, we're just going to take questions about Rougned Odor. And you want to ask about Brett Martin update, that would be good too. And we will start with Evan.
John, you want to give us a Brett Martin update?
Yeah, Brett's at the alternate site, went through his intake testing, is scheduled to pitch tomorrow in a game there, and we're hopeful he could be activated, really be an option to be activated as soon as this weekend, but we'll take it day to day, see how it comes out of the outing tomorrow.
And technically you guys could activate those guys that were all retroactive you could activate them on Thursday, but Friday, right?
That's right, yeah. The guys that were on the 10-day IL that were backdated are eligible this weekend. I think you're right. On the 8th, they're eligible.
And is he the only guy that would likely be eligible or ready this weekend?
I think so. Yeah. So you've got to, in addition to being healthy, there's basically a 5-day re-entry period, for lack of a better term, where you've got to go through a 2-day intake to get to the alternate site, and then you've got to be there for 3 days before you can join the big league club. So, from a health standpoint, Joely Rodriguez is not far off, and Willie Calhoun is not far off, but we haven't started that process with either of them yet.
Okay. And then just the last thing would be on the Odor trade. I know the big thing for you is the prospects that you get back, but is there more to this deal than just kind of meets the eye? I mean, clearly you save a little, a smidgen of money here, you get a couple prospects back. Is there something else involved for the Yankees here, like at a deeper level too?
So the deal's fairly straightforward. We had a couple of options as we talked through it. There was another scenario that was better for us in terms of from a cash standpoint, from a financial standpoint. Kind of walked through that with our group and with ownership, and we prioritized the talent rather than the financial aspect of it, which I think really when we made the decision to designate Rougie prior to opening day, that decision was more or less made at that point. We knew that we could be locking ourselves into no relief, so we'll get a small amount of financial relief, effectively the league minimum, in the outside chance that his options picked up, then he would get relief on the buyout. But we're not necessarily making the deal with that in mind. But yeah, we get two players that we liked as amateurs. Obviously, it's excuse me, challenging last year and a half from an evaluation standpoint. Haven't seen these guys play a whole lot, but liked Stowers there at Louisville and Cabello as an amateur coming out of Venezuela. So look forward to getting them into the system and continuing their development.
Okay, I'll give somebody else a chance. Thanks.
Levi.
If it's challenging for you guys to scout during the last year, I got to tell you, I don't know much about these guys at all. What can you tell us about each of these players as far as like player profile? Like what do we need to know?
Yeah, Stowers went to Louisville, overlapped there 1 year with Nick Solak. I didn't realize it till I was walking through the clubhouse earlier and saw Wes Benjamin and asked me who we got in the deal, and I told him. He said, "Oh, I worked out with that guy a couple off seasons ago. Great dude." So. That's fairly consistent. We've heard from Seattle, who drafted him from the Yankees, a really quality human being. Played center field in college. Played all three as a pro. Again, we liked him in the draft quite a bit out of Louisville. Went in the second round, and then but overall, just a good baseball player, good hitter. Played in the fall league. We had some exposure to him there as well. And then Cabello was a catcher as an amateur. The Yankees have played him in the outfield since being signed, center field, and as well as some on the corner. Good arm strength, good approach as a hitter. Fared pretty well as a younger player at a couple different affiliates. And then again, with this last year is a little bit challenging, but we've heard good things about him from out of our scouts in Venezuela. His program, he's got himself in very good shape. Took his off-season conditioning very seriously, I should say, and we may give him a look, depending upon when we get our arms around him and get him into camp. We may give him a look again behind the plate, but know that he is athletic enough to play the outfield.
This is perhaps just me not knowing the inner workings of a front office, but to hear you say, the way that Seattle is that just sort of a professional courtesy? Like, hey, we got maybe a trade with this guy with the Yankees. We know that you guys had him. What do you think? I mean, is that just a phone call that people are willing to take?
Yeah, my guess is not too dissimilar from, your side of the industry. You reach out, you're doing a story on somebody. I'm sure you reach out to various people that may have had contact with the subject of your story or things of that nature. Same here. I mean, so there's certainly an element. We talked to our people. We had a staff member that Mike Anderson, that was around Stowers in the fall league. We talked to scouts. We talked to players that cross paths with these guys, and then certainly if we have if there's not like a sensitive element to it where we don't want information getting out, you kind of want to be careful. You don't ask too many people because then it kind of leaks out. But yeah, we checked with some people that knew him as from his time with Seattle as well. So I think the guy that I'm referencing isn't with them anymore, but sometimes it happens that way.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Hey, Chris?
Hey, John, I remember when you guys announced that Rougned, that you guys were going to TFA him, that you didn't expect to find a fit with the trade, and obviously this came through. And so just looking through, over the last week when you guys have been addressing this, just how did this come? How long have you guys been talking to the Yankees about this, and how close were you with you mentioned possibly another deal. How close were you with any other clubs?
Yeah, so at the time we made the decision, I made that comment. My intent was effectively we made the decision to designate him knowing there was no guarantee we could trade him, right? So we had internally and explaining it to ownership and ultimately making that call, we had to be comfortable with the possibility that there was going to be no financial relief or no player return. We had some discussion prior to designating him, some back in the off season, some in spring training with a few clubs. We've never, as a team, we've never really been that close to the CBT threshold. So, while we're familiar with the rules, we've never had to really engage a whole lot on them. Odor's contract is such that you'll hear terms like a wedge guy or wedge contract. Where it's basically if his cash salary is more than his CBT number, there's a potential benefit to a team that's close to the CBT. So we had some conversations over the course of the winter and even the spring along those lines. And so there was a little bit of groundwork. We had those continued here a little bit over the last week. But we really chose between this and one other scenario when we made the final call today.
Thank you, John.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll go to Sam. Go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, I'm curious where kind of things kind of stand with getting the team vaccinated. Do you guys feel like you're going to hit that threshold of 85%?
Hopeful that we will, Sam. We have a fair number of our group vaccinated. When I say vaccinated, some are through the full process, meaning either got both shots of Pfizer, Moderna, and the waiting period afterwards. Some Johnson & Johnson, and I think into that waiting period. We're not to 85% yet. We're not that far off, so we're still kind of discussing it. One of the things we're trying to be really mindful of, while there's certainly we believe a public health benefit to getting vaccinated and an individual health benefit, there is a quality of life benefit as well from the relaxation of the protocols, both on an individual level, being able to have more freedom to see your family on the road and things of that nature, more time in the clubhouse, etc. Some benefits with masks and travel. But we also want to really be mindful of everyone's individual decisions, and people have all sorts of personal considerations that we want to respect. So we're trying to we've done some education, we've done some kind of group discussions, we're having some more individual discussions. There are some guys that are lined up to get the vaccine here shortly. I think we will get to 85%, but the exact timing I don't know.
Is it a kind of a process of moving people on that topic in terms of their mindset? Has that been part of the kind of this whole process?
Listen, I think it's got to be an individual decision. We're not looking to force anybody to do anything they don't want to do. So while I might have the opinion that it's a good thing, I want to respect the fact that somebody else may choose otherwise with their own health. And so again, those factors I touched on a little bit ago, we've talked through them, and the other thing is a timing element for some of the guys, right? Some of them are kind of mindful of while it's a minority people that have side effects, they kind of want to be mindful of when they get it to, if they are going to have side effects, that it doesn't necessarily affect them on a game day or things like that. So again, we're just trying to walk through all those things, help our guys make the decision. If they choose to get it, we're doing our best to facilitate that.
Okay, we'll take one more for JD, then Woody's coming in. So, Evan?
On that thing about the competitive balance, the CBT, so his cash, you're saying that a player whose cash value is more than his AAV?
Correct.
So that's what's left on the contract versus what the annual, the AAV would have been when you signed him?
Kind of, yeah. So a player, if a player signs I'll use round numbers. If a player signs a 5-year, $50 million contract, and he's paid $10 million a year, then his AAV, which is what the CBT is calculated off of, it's just an average of the guarantee, is $10 million, but his cash salary is also $10 million. If a lot of times with a player like Rougned that's signed as a pre-arbitration player, so you have this kind of graduated salaries over the course of it. The CBT number is the same in every year of the deal, but the cash salary is different depending if that's how it's mapped out. So there are years in which where there's a gap there, and that can at times help a club that's close to the CBT. That wasn't real. I mean, that didn't play a huge role here because that matters more if a player is traded for another player with making a similar salary but has a different CBT number, and that was not the case here. But I think I mentioned that in Chris's question about I think it was Chris or somebody's question. Sorry, I forgot. But about past discussions, and that was more of an off-season discussion where we were looking at that.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're going to bring Woody in next, and go from there.
Thanks, guys.